the person who really took on the task of educating the pagan world about the true history of witchcraft was Ronald Hutton, who started that work in the 1980s, well, in the 1990s, and was a tremendous diplomat, tremendously ambassadorial and diplomatic to say, no, the Wicca of today is not a survival of, ancient covens that, were worshipping the moon in the 16th and 17th century. But it's okay. Creativity is a wonderful thing. In the future can be much more healthy than the past. And we all have origin myths. And I do remember when he began speaking to pagan audiences, and I remember particularly going to a talk he gave in, I want to say 1990 or 1992, and the audience, there was a large cadre of the audience that began protesting and shouting.
Really?
Yeah, at the back. And he persisted, he really, really did persist and has persisted and became very, very loved, and people were able to appreciate what he said. Maybe you take away a myth, but you give an affirmation of how alive and present and creative religion can be, in this case Wicca. So it's been a journey which I've mainly observed, not really contributed very much to, but I've been somebody who watched that happen over 20-25 years.
That's incredible, because the way that I've seen it, obviously from a different generational perspective, is that he was actually quite loved in the pagan community. I'm Italian, so even in the Italian pagan community, he's quite loved by the pagans. So what do you think that allowed pagans to have a shift from the shouting and protesting to accepting him and even admiring him as a historian of paganism?
I watched him do this. I watched this all happen. I went to in the 1990s. I went to every pagan conference there was, just about, and I was immersed in conferences in those years. And what I saw was that one is that he went to the next conference even after people at the back stood up and shouted, "You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong." I remember some women started doing some dance to drown him out from the stage of this conference. But he was scheduled to speak at a conference maybe some months later or weeks later. And did he cancel and disappear back into the ivory towers? No, he showed up. And he just kept saying, "I'm a